France is about to explode.
Ouais, c'est pas ce qu'il fait. C'est vrai qu'il m'a redonné. Il n'y a pas d'Allah, gros. Voilà, faut le plus tirer. C'est vrai qu'il m'a redonné. Voilà, faut le plus tirer. Non, mais il est malade.
Another mass stabbing by a man claiming to be sent from Allah. Another senseless terrorist attack. And the people of France have officially had it. And they're not alone. Europe as a whole is rising up, ready to reclaim their civilizational sovereignty. And today's knife attack is landing right as France and Europe are deciding once and for all how much further they're willing to go. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your patron professor, here to help you make sense of the madness with breaking news and analysis you're not going to get anywhere else. So make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Just hours ago, a man attacked 3 women near Place de Clichy in Paris with 2 kitchen knives, seriously wounding 2 of them. A 19-year-old, a 24-year-old, and a 36-year-old. He was tackled and detained by an off-duty police officer before he could do more damage, and he could be heard on video saying, quote, "It is Allah who commanded me," while being taken into custody. His identity has yet to be confirmed. The National Anti-Terrorism Prosecutor's Office is now weighing whether to formally open a terror investigation. Now, this attack that literally happened just hours ago was actually the second apparent Islamic-linked attack in Europe within hours of each other, after an ISIS-inspired van attack ripped through a Berlin Pride event this weekend, killing 1 person and injuring 29 others. Obviously, the outrage from French citizens, as well as France's nationalist right, was immediate and was fierce. This comes only days after French authorities detained 6 people over a separate foiled plot that allegedly targeted a synagogue in the Paris suburb of Sarcelles. For a country already exhausted by a decade of attacks, Charlie Hebdo, the Bataclan Theater, do you remember that attack that left 130 people dead at the concert? The Nice attack, where a truck plowed into a crowd celebrating Bastille Day, killing nearly 90 people and injuring over 400 others. And the beheading of teacher Samuel Paty some years back. I mean, you rack it all up, every new knife attack lands like confirmation of what nationalist leaders like Marine Le Pen have been saying for years. Islam is simply incompatible with Western civilization. There's just no 2 ways about it. Le Pen herself has a long history of responding to exactly this kind of attack with blunt language, and it's one of the primary reasons why the liberal globalist establishment in France and in Europe, in Brussels, has been trying to ban her from running for president. But you may have heard a court has now officially lifted that ban after the sham conviction, and she's now free to run in 2027, and has made her the clear front runner. And the polls are already showing she's the odds-on favorite to win easily. But the French aren't waiting until 2027. French officials, even in the center left, has spent the last year building toward the most aggressive confrontation with political Islam of any Western democracy. Back in May of last year, a 73-page classified report landed on the desk of the French Interior Minister titled "The Muslim Brotherhood and Political Islam in France." It identified 139 mosques and 280 affiliated associations across schools, charities, and sports clubs linked to Brotherhood influence, roughly 1 in 10 mosques in the nation. The report named a specific threat it called entryism, not terrorism, not open separatism, but the patient, legal infiltration of French institutions from the inside. So we're talking running candidates for school boards and local councils, then using those positions to quietly reshape curricula and redirect funding in such a way that benefits the Muslim Brotherhood and its ideology inside France. So their former interior minister turned the report's findings into actual legislation, a bill making entryism itself a criminal offense, punishable by a minimum of 5 years in prison for anyone who organizes a coordinated campaign to subvert a French institution from within. And on May 5th of this year, the French Senate passed that bill overwhelmingly. And it's now sitting before the National Assembly with Macron pushing for a final bill on his desk by the end of the summer. This is the first time a Western government has moved from regulating behavior such as France's burqa ban to naming an idea or an ideology and its strategy for infiltrating French institutions and then writing criminal law against it. And that's what's so key here. The French government is looking the Muslim Brotherhood in the eye. They've named their infiltration strategy out loud, and then they said, not here, not anymore. It will now be a criminal offense to infiltrate a French institution, a school, a city council, even a mosque, with the deliberate aim of subverting it from within. This is France directly criminalizing the Brotherhood's core operating strategy on French soil. And as it turns out, it's not just France. France is just the tip of the sword of more and more European nations saying enough. Enough of the open borders madness being perpetuated by a corrupt globalist elite. Enough of Brussels compromising our national sovereignty. We're about to see how they're getting their civilization back, one province and indeed one country at a time. But speaking of our corrupt elite, let me ask you, what do you think you could do if you had the same insider trading information that Nancy Pelosi has, right? You know exactly what I'm talking about. Politicians like Pelosi have had access to insider trading secrets for decades now. They know exactly what stocks to buy and when to buy them. But guess what? You and I actually have access to that very same inside information. Thanks to a little-known SEC database, we can see what and when corporate CEOs are buying up in real time, and then we get to piggyback on their trades to gain the same advantage for ourselves. Gang, that's why you have got to click on that link below and sign up for a free training with me and my good friend Ross Givens. It's this Thursday, July 30th, 3 p.m. Eastern. Ross is an insider trading expert whose recommendations have led to investment returns of over 200%. Some have hit as high as nearly 1,500%. It's going to be an amazing free training where you and I can learn how to trade with the exact same insider knowledge as these politicians, but we're going to do it legally and ethically. But don't wait. Seating registration is limited, so click on that link below right now and register today, and I'll see you for an event that promises to change your life. Something astonishing is happening all across the continent. On Wednesday, June 17th, the European Parliament voted 418 to 218 to officially pass what's called the Return Regulation, the strictest, most aggressive, most comprehensive deportation enforcement framework the European Union has ever adopted. And this was a long time coming. European citizens have spent the last decades watching their cities and their countries demographically transform like never before. At the turn of last century, there were approximately 10 million Muslims in the entire continent. Today, that number has surged upwards to 50 million. And as a result, Europeans have watched their neighborhoods change dramatically. They've watched their daughters afraid to walk home at night. They've watched their church spires, a centuries-old Christian civilization, be overshadowed by the creeping architecture of demographic inevitability. And increasingly, Europeans are saying, enough. There is nothing inevitable about this. Enough. We want our nations back. We want our culture back. We want our civilization back. We want our home back. And this overwhelming sentiment to defend their homeland is giving rise to what scholars call civilizational populism. More and more Europeans are not just demanding the restoration of national sovereignty, they're demanding the restoration of their civilizational sovereignty. This is not a conflict of nation versus nation. It sees the great conflict of the 21st century as civilization against the forces that would dissolve it. The same forces that erase borders, silenced dissent, criminalized tradition, and rewarded demographic replacement with the label of progress. No more. Nation after nation is beginning to reclaim their national sovereignty and collectively reclaim their civilizational sovereignty. In Italy, their ruling party, the Brothers of Italy, have introduced sweeping legislation to ban the burqa and niqab in every public space across the country. Schools, shops, offices, streets. Geert Wilders of the Netherlands managed to get the Muslim Brotherhood banned from their nation. In Germany, their center-right Chancellor Friedrich Merz has announced that upwards of 800,000 Syrian refugees will be repatriated. They will be sent back within the next 3 to 4 years. We could go on and on and on. And now even the European Parliament itself, the very institution that referred to all of these civilizationalist efforts as racist and xenophobic, now even they are passing some of the toughest immigration and deportation reforms in the Parliament's history. The rise of civilizational populism in Europe hasn't just shifted the Overton window, it's demolished it. And the proof is found in the very Brussels assembly that once did everything they possibly could to maintain the globalist status quo. When a civilization decides it's had enough, it doesn't just push back, it reclaims. And what we're watching, from a knife attack in Paris this morning to a criminal law moving through the French Senate, is a test of whether Europe is finally ready to rise up and defend their nations, their customs, their civilization, and indeed, their home.